More than 500 farmers swapped the country life for a plush Sydney hotel to attend the week-long event. With 22,000 members, the association is the largest farmer body in the state, and each year delegates from its 400 branches come together to vote on policy and elect office bearers. The New South Wales Farmers Association is principally a political lobby group. The association says it has made a number of gains for farmers in the past year, not least taking some of the credit for Treasurer Keating's federal mini-budget of restraint. However, association leaders admit they are still to achieve many of their goals, and the conference has endorsed the continuation of a push for government spending cuts and the general deregulation of rural industries. One of the most important decisions made at this conference was to formalise opposition to all 4 questions to be asked in September's referendum. The association believes a yes vote to the question on local government will place too much power in the hands of federal politicians and instead will cost the government many votes in country areas. As well as discussing policy, delegates are hearing from a number of the leading names in rural organisations, among them Managing Director of the Australian Meat and Livestock Corporation, Peter Frawley. Mr Frawley gave details of the recent landmark beef access deal signed with Japan, but added his voice to those warning that Australia needs to change its ways if it is to succeed in that demanding market.
I want the producers to understand that the market is not there just for the taking. It will mean that Australia will have to supply a quality product, a consistent product, and present it well. And that means both producers and processors doing better than they're doing at the moment.
Mr Frawley also says his organisation supports a recent proposal to export live Murray Grey cattle to Japan through the Port of Newcastle.
Most certainly. I think it's an excellent idea because the less livestock have to travel, the better the condition they will arrive in at the importing country. And so if they don't have to travel to Brisbane before they travel to Japan, most certainly I think it's an excellent move on the part of the port and the producers in the region to promote the sale of Murray Greys in this form.
Mrs Chadwick said the money is to be spent on 2 projects in the Lake Macquarie area. $500,000 of the complete grant will be invested in the lake's Bicentennial beaches restoration project, funding half of the total expense of the job, and the remaining $75,000 of the grant will go towards the Estuarine and Marine Studies Centre.
Really going to beautify this area of Newcastle, Crabs Beach and down around Caves Beach. It's going to stabilise the dunes, it's going to revegetate, so it's a very attractive passive recreation area. And in addition, we're going to have a marine studies centre down in that area so that people can enjoy the area and learn to know more about it.
As a Hunter resident, Mrs Chadwick said she would be watching with particular interest to see how the projects developed.
Does this check a sign that we're going to be seeing more money spent on the Hunter Valley?
Well, I most certainly hope so as an Overcastrian. It gives me enormous pleasure when I see money coming in for sewerage schemes and for schemes such as this. I do think it's a very practical example of the government's commitment to the hunter, but I also believe it's an example that all the predictions before the election, that if the colour of the area changed, it might be a politically more interesting area and hence the recipient of largesse.
Newcastle has tasted both the ups and downs in the past fortnight. 2 weeks ago at Austria Park, they downed the previously unbeaten Melita 2-0. Last week in Sydney, however, they were beaten 1-0 by Sutherland. Newcastle have played Canberra already this season, and going 2-0 to the national capital. Another loss will more than likely see them drop out of the top 4. However, captain and former Australian youth rep Howard Tredenick believes they'll be back in the winner's circle on Saturday in front of their home crowd.
We've got a strong squad now, and I certainly think we'll be able to beat them.
What's behind the team's recent good form? You started the year off fairly badly, and lately you knocked off the top team. What's the reason?
Well, we've certainly had a few additions to the squad in the last few months, and they've certainly strengthened the team. But generally the confidence is a lot better, and we believe in ourselves.
What happened last weekend? Why did you lose?
Well, I think it was basically a bit of over-complacency, and we didn't really have our minds right on the job.
You reckon you got your minds right for Saturday then?
Well, I certainly hope so. No, I think we'll be right for Saturday.
The award, which is a first for Newcastle, is to be judged during the Lake Macquarie Festival in September. Previously a dance festival, this year's program involves vocal, instrumental, speech and drama and choral performances. Businessman Richard Owens, in announcing the $2,000 Stewie's ARIA Awards, said he hoped the local performers would be encouraged to enter the competition. July 18 is the closing date for the awards. 15 entries from all over the state have already been accepted, with another 15 positions available. All proceeds from the festival will aid the Royal New South Wales Institute for Deaf and Blind Children. The Newcastle administrator of the institute and organiser of the festival, Rhonda Eddy, says she has been working on this event for 2 years. She says there is a definite need for an award of this type in the area.
No, this is a first. That's why we wanted a major sponsor and major money, really, to encourage the talent in Newcastle.
But are there any prerequisites on how the prize money should be spent?
We have stipulated on it that it's for tuition, but if the winner wishes to use the $2,000 as part of an overseas trip to further their career, that's fine by us.
At 10:10 this morning, 3 masked men in overalls carrying 2 sawn-off shotguns and a long-barrelled revolver threatened security guards at the Elermore Vale Stewie store. The Hunter security guards were carrying the takings from the back of the store when the gunmen approached them and grabbed a large sum of money in a metal box. The thieves then escaped in an off-white Mitsubishi van driven by a 4th man. Detectives from Wallsend and the armed hold-up squad arrived at the scene soon after and discovered the getaway van in nearby Smith Street, Elermore Vale. It is thought the men then left the scene in a blue-coloured car heading west. Police have asked anyone seeing the swap of the cars at around 10:25 opposite the school in Smith Street to contact them. Detectives believe the robbery could be associated with a similar robbery at Charlestown Square about 8 weeks ago. Peter Ryan reporting for NBN News.
Tonight in the news, ambulance rescue personnel today took part in a new training exercise at Merriweather Cliffs. The operation is designed to help save lives and is part of a new roping course being introduced across the state.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
One of Newcastle's best-kept secrets for former swimmers is the Hunter Masters Swimming Club. It's part of an international organisation of swimming clubs which caters especially for the over 20-year-olds. All year round, carnivals are conducted on nearly every weekend. There are even annual state and national championships, as well as world championships, which this year will be held in Brisbane during October. The club is not just for the competition-minded, it also caters for those who want to get fit. If competition is your game, swimmers are separated into age groups of 5 years. The Hunter Club has members aged from 20 to 71-year-old Les Campbell, who has set a number of world records in the 70 to 74 years age group.
The cheque was presented to Professor Annette Dobson of Newcastle University to go towards a heart study project, MONICA, that is monitoring trends and determinants of cardiovascular disease. A big title that simply means studying the cause of heart problems. The study is being made over 2 years, and the first of many centres in the area began testing in Mayfield last week.
We use a random sample of the population being invited to come along and participate in the study, and we measure heights and weights and blood pressure and a free cholesterol measurement together with dietary advice to help people lower their cholesterol and hence lower their risk of heart disease.
A similar study was carried out in the region in 1983, and according to figures already recorded, heart disease in the Hunter region has decreased by 3 to 4% each year since 1979.
Heart disease in the valley has been decreasing over the last few years. Is it still a problem in the area?
Yes, Newcastle has one of the highest heart disease rates in the country. But as you say, in the last few years, the changes have been quite spectacular. Disease rates have been declining. We think that this is due in part to people changing their lifestyles, and part of the current study is to investigate this further and also to help people make more changes.
Good. It was Sunday the 4th of July when the Cessnock and Aberdare Scouts, with 3 leaders and 6 support crew, began their bicentennial walk from Ermington Wharf on the Parramatta River to Cessnock City Hall. The trek of nearly 200 kilometres was to retrace the route of the convict-built Great Northern Road through Dural, Wiseman's Ferry, Furnaces Crossing and Wallenbot. Unfortunately, flood rains at the Hawkesbury cut one section of the leg, but undeterred, the Scouts continued the trek further along the route. Averaging 25 kilometres per day and staying in scout halls and camping, spirits remained high throughout the trip. You're the youngest scout that went on the walk. Was it tough at all for you?
Oh, a little bit. Sometimes.
Was there any particular parts of the walk that you had trouble with?
Mainly the hills.
Welcomed home by Lord Mayor Marie Callaghan and friends and family, all the walkers received a commemorative book on the Great North Road adventure. After 18 months of planning, with $2,000 in expenses and many kilometres underfoot, how does Scout leader Glenn Sullivan feel now?
Oh, a little tired, but otherwise fine. Yeah.
Everyone will sleep well tonight?
You bet. I'm sure I will too.
Late this morning, a 1.8 metre woman, possibly a transvestite, entered the bank and ordered the teller to fill a yellow plastic bag with money. Waving a small pistol, the bandit, dressed in a blue denim jacket and jeans and a blue and white beanie and sunglasses, casually grabbed a small amount of money and fled on foot west along Maitland Road. Police searched the area but found no trace of the thief. Today's robbery was the second hold-up of the bank in the last 8 months.
The Cannons' defence went into overdrive last night to keep Newcastle to its lowest score and only its third sub-century total of the year. The Cannons' Phil Smythe and Herb McEachin controlled proceedings, with Newcastle's Wayne McDaniel playing a big hand in both defence and offence. McDaniel put 37 points on the board. The Falcons led 49-47 at half-time, but couldn't hold back Canberra.
Yes, I'm disappointed. Always hopeful, I guess, of going further, and I felt that we would have had a very good crack at that team, but it wasn't to be, so we were hoping to prolong the season by another couple of weeks, but that's the way it goes.
Would it have been a different story being played here at home?
I don't know. I thought that the finals, it doesn't really matter where you play. They were just that little bit steadier in the finals game. We had a couple of very nervous players, and we played probably 15 minutes of very nervous basketball. So that's what, that's been part of this year, has been a growing up experience, and I think that we should be a lot better for it next season.
Where do the Falcons go from here?
Well, I think we've got to try and consolidate our groundwork with what we've got. We were the only new team this year that made the finals from last year's group. We progressed further than anybody else in the league. What we have to do next year is to attempt to hold on to that. We've got to try and hold our spot in the finals, and I think we'll try and recruit young players, to be quite honest. So we're not going to have an instantaneous success level. It's going to come over the next 2 to 3 seasons.
When Rose Buchus was born, television was non-existent, there were no cars on the roads, and the world was excited about a possible new form of communication called radio. Rose has seen many changes in her life, a life which today reached 100 years. And to help Rose celebrate the day, 3 of her children, 6 of her grandchildren, 16 of her great-grandchildren, and 4 of her great-great-grandchildren joined other friends at the St Joseph's nursing home at Sandgate. Rose was born in Tasmania, but after visiting her sister in Newcastle in the 1920s, liked it so much she persuaded her family to move to the city, where she has lived ever since. And clocking up a century in a bicentennial year is not a feat likely to go unnoticed. Today, Rose received a special commemorative certificate from the Governor-General and telegrams from some other well-known well-wishers. And so, amongst all the memories, Rose now has another, culminating in singing of a song she has heard literally 100 times before.
Happy birthday to you. Hip hooray! Hip hooray! Hip hooray!
Four fire units raced to the school after firemen received numerous 000 calls at 10 to 4 this morning. Totally destroyed in the 50-year-old weatherboard building was a resource and storeroom. The remainder of the 40 by 10 metre building suffered heat and smoke damage. As yet, the cause of the blaze has not been found, although it appears there are no suspicious circumstances. Damage is estimated at between $50,000 and $100,000.
Dudley's bottle shop on the corner of Bridge and Yambo Streets was held up just before 11 o'clock. Bottle shop manager Peter Macquarie says the offender threatened female staff with a pistol.
The girl said she heard the door buzzer go off. She came around, the man put the gun straight on her and said, "I want the money from the till." Told her not to push any buttons. And gun in one hand, he grabbed the money in the other. Told him to wait out the back until he disappeared. And said he had a friend waiting for him. And she rang me about 5 minutes later and I came down and notified the police.
The bandit was wearing a navy blue balaclava, blue jeans and a dark coloured jumper. He's described as 20 years of age, 170 centimetres tall, of thin build with black hair.
With total prize money of $5,000, the tournament is the second biggest junior squash competition in the state, and before too long should be number 1. Featuring the game's future champions, Newcastle failed to win a title, although 3 did make it into the finals. Ben Seeley was runner-up in the under-11 boys, and Megan Platt was beaten by Australian champ Shannon McNamara in the girls under-17 final. In the match of the day seen here, Cessnock's David Hearn went down to Sydney's Shane Matthews. In a replay of the New South Wales State under-17 championship final, Matthews won 3 games to 1.
It was about 7 o'clock last night when Bulahdelah trucking identity Bevan Dewey Richardson was transporting $20,000 worth of Dewey's draft stubbies from Sydney to Grafton. Dewey felt a problem with his near side front wheel and did a marvellous job of almost pulling the rig up on what is the narrowest section of the highway between Sydney and Brisbane.
I was coming around the right-hander on the far corner here and something snapped and it just, to me, his wheel studs broke on the left-hand side front wheel, and I had my 2 hands on either side holding it, and I brought it back in line, and this minute just went to the left and she just rolled over.
The 20 pallets of beer came off on the first roll, with the trailer crashing over the top, smashing at least half the load. Dewey was knocked unconscious, but appears to have recovered. His passenger, Bulahdelah plumber Noel Brown, received a cut head, but was otherwise okay. The only way to get the prime mover, trailer and what's left of the load out of the depression was to bring in a 45-ton crane, which completely blocked the highway and caused the traffic diversion. It was expected the road would be opened again about now.
Newcastle's Community Justice Centre was to have been established in the old court annex on the corner of Bolton and Church Streets. Photocopiers and a facsimile machine were required, and March this year set down for its opening. However, in a cost-cutting measure, the government has deferred that day to a time when funds become available. Of the 4 community justice centres already in the state, 3 are in Sydney while 1 is in Wollongong. The decision to axe Newcastle as 5th on that list was not likely to go untouched by opposition leader Bob Carr in the Hunter on the weekend.
The total cost would have been something like $180,000 a year. I believe that the cost of the court delays, the cost to the community of the court delays, is going to be much more than that. So in the end, you save no money.
The government also came under heavy fire from the Hunter Community Council, a group consisting of almost 40 community bodies, which has been campaigning for the centre for 5 years.
Yes, well, we've been campaigning for it for years and years, and we got it, and now it's slipped from our grasp, or been torn from our grasp, really.
However, today the government's position was eroded by its own Community Services Minister. Virginia Chadwick in Newcastle, for a meeting at the Hunter Parliamentary Unit, said she had not heard that the centre was not going ahead and would be doing her best to reverse the decision.
I think that community justice centres have served a useful purpose, and yes, that would be a view that I would be presenting to Mr. Dowd, largely on the basis that there's a number of small disputes that we can avoid taking to courts and formal courts and clogging up the court system.